Hey everyone, I'm Mikey Kilgore, and in my presentation I'm going to be talking about unusual attitude. So first off, we're going to talk about what is unusual attitude. So unusual attitude is the loss of control in flight, and so that's characterized by either an upset or unusual attitude, which is what we're going to be talking about. But both of these, upset and unusual attitude, are defined as when the aircraft attitude is maneuvered beyond what is needed for normal flight. But there is a difference between an upset and unusual attitude. And so upsets actually have parameters by which the FAA says this: if this happens, then you're in an upset. And so to read off exactly what the FAA says it is upsets are pitch attitude that is greater than 25 degrees nose up, pitch attitude that is greater than 10 degrees down, bank angle goes greater than 45 degrees, and when these what I just said are happening, and you fly at airspeeds inappropriate for the conditions you are in, that is an upset. And so an upset is inclusive of unusual attitudes. So kind of to differ from unusual attitude and upset, you have upsets. Upsets include stalls where unusual attitudes don't. So when you're training, you're not usually going to go into a stall when you are training for unusual attitude. And so the second, an upset includes overspeeds, but when in unusual attitude training, you usually don't overspeed or anything. And as I said, upsets have parameters while unusual attitudes do not. And so first off, we're going to go into a nose high. So when you're in a nose high unusual attitude for the procedures, the first is to increase the power. Then you're going to want to lower the nose, level the wings, and then you want to wait for an increase in airspeed and a stable, you're not going up or down on that altimeter before you go back to your normal cruise flight. And so it's kind of like a stall in a way, or that you don't want to stall. So you're going to want to lower that nose and increase the power so that nose can go down, and then level the wings and wait for so you're back to normal and at normal attitude before going. And so steps for the nose low is you want to decrease the power, level the wings, raise the nose, and then wait for a decrease in airspeed because you're going to be going at a higher speed rather than a lower speed when you're in nose high, and a stable altitude before returning to normal cruise flight again. So this is a little different from nose high because nose low, you have to worry a little more about load factor, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But that's why you want to level the wings before you raise the nose, because you don't want to overload the aircraft. And so here's the load factor. So what is load factor exactly? It is the ratio of the aerodynamic force to the gross weight of the aircraft. So it's how much force is being applied to the wings based on the weight of the aircraft. And so you could say if you have a load factor of 2, that means that the force that is being exerted on the structure of the aircraft is 2 times the gross weight of the aircraft. And so I'll go back to the nose low. You want to level the wings and raise the nose, and then raise the nose, because if you try to raise the nose as you're turning, you can see that you're gonna, here, I'll go back to the back to the diagram. As you're turning, it's going to be more G's going exerted down, which is going to put more stress on the structure of the aircraft. And so back to that again, you want to level the wings, then raise the nose so that you don't overload the aircraft, because as you see in the dangers at the bottom, overloading on the airplane structure is a danger. Also with increased load factor, you also have an increased stall speed. And so we talked about what it is, the steps to recover, and a little bit about the load factor. So what are the causes of unusual attitude? There are multiple different causes, but kind of like the hits of them, the big ones are an inadequate instrument cross-check. So you're doing your instrument cross-check, but you get maybe fixed on an instrument, or maybe you're looking outside for some reason, even though you usually can't see anything. And you just lose control and you go into an unusual attitude. You're fixated and you lose control. Another one is focusing on navigating or communicating before you're aviating. So they teach the ANC, I have ANC on the PowerPoint. So ANC is aviate, navigate, communicate. Kind of the 3 things. You want to aviate first before you navigate, aviate, navigate before you communicate. But if you're going into an unusual attitude, maybe you're focusing more on trying to navigate, see where you're going, or communicating to, say, ATC or someone else, instead of aviating. You want to aviate first so you don't let this happen. And then another one is relying on your actual senses of that your body's feeling about the attitude of the aircraft, rather than what the instruments are saying is the attitude of the aircraft. Always want to make sure you're looking at the instruments and relying that they're telling the truth rather than what your body's feeling, because your bodies are going to have false sensations. And so that's the end of my presentation about unusual attitude. Thank you for watching.